happen to think there's a gay mafia in hip-hop.
Right.
Not rappers. You know, the editorial presidents of magazines, the PDs at radio stations.
I'll end up saying at the end of the day, Kevin told you he wasn't gonna wear no dress until they offered him the dress, and then he put it on. And what did he say after he wore it? I made my own decision. Duh. But you didn't make it before they brought it up. The ritual of Baphomet, the transgender, to show allegiance to him, you had to kiss his ass.
Really?
And it said both of those things.
Fat Joe once laughed and said on camera, "The gay mafia runs hip-hop." Fast forward, and now he's the target of a federal RICO lawsuit, accused of running a full-blown freak cult. We're talking hidden cameras, blackmail threats, minors allegedly involved, and forced acts that sound straight out of Diddy's darkest chapters. And here's the kicker. The man suing him claims Fat Joe learned it all from Diddy himself. It ain't just a coincidence either. Same lawyers, same courtroom, same twisted vibes, same creepy silence from the industry. But here's where the whole thing flips on its head. Way before any of this drama exploded online, Katt Williams was already ringing the alarm bells. On Joe Rogan's podcast, he laid it all out. Rituals, coded symbols, the dresses, the handlers, even the trans agendas tied to deeper elite movements. According to Katt, it's all part of some ancient system that's been hiding in plain sight. And now, take another look at Joe, a dude who used to pop off nonstop. Now he's dead silent, just like the rest of them. Same shady script, same shady cast. And if Katt was right about everything else, maybe this ain't karma, it's punishment. This mess kicked off with a bombshell so wild, folks didn't even know how to react. But rewind back to Club Shay Shay when Katt cracked that joke. Did he be wanting to party? That wasn't just comedy. He was pulling the curtain on something darker, a system, a structure, and a straight-up agenda. But here's what most people totally missed. That clip wasn't just about Diddy. Nah, that was Katt firing shots. A straight-up warning to Hollywood's so-called secret circle that the gloves were off and the masks were coming off next. Katt's never just been the funny guy. He's the jester who always laced his punchlines with too much truth. But in 2024, he stopped joking and came for war. And he keeps hammering one thing, those twisted Hollywood rituals. He's talking about the Baphomet symbolism, the dresses on straight black men, the forced obedience, the submission. He ain't calling them trends, he's calling them initiation rites. Straight up psychological branding used to break people down and make them compliant. And Katt? He said enough is enough. He's tired of watching his peers get turned into puppets for the camera. Now swing back to Fat Joe. 2011. He's chilling on Vlad TV, looking relaxed, but spitting something way too bold for that era. He dropped that line about rappers, and back then, people brushed it off like he was just stirring drama for clout. But now, that same Fat Joe is tangled in a RICO lawsuit that could crush everything he built. And suddenly, those old words ain't so funny anymore. They might have painted the bullseye on his back. Back then, Joe was untouchable, a certified Bronx legend. But that moment might have flipped everything. And guess who was watching from the sidelines the whole time? Katt was taking notes. Katt didn't just throw shade, he confirmed it straight up. The industry's got a hidden ceiling, a secret system where you can't level up unless you play the game. It's not just about being gay, it's about loyalty, control, and who owns your silence. That so-called gay mafia, it ain't just a label, it's a network built on allegiance, blackmail, and submission. And when Fat Joe spoke on it, that one moment might have been the move that marked him. But here's where it gets real twisted. For years, folks laughed off Katt's talk of Hollywood rituals like he was some conspiracy nut. But if you really connect the dots, if you piece together what he's been saying, it all starts to form a clear, scary picture. The Baphomet symbolism, the duality, the way masculinity gets flipped into forced femininity, and all that transformation, it's not just fashion, it's submission on display. Now guess who else followed that exact same script? Fat Joe. The man who once said there's a gay mafia in hip-hop somehow ended up right in the middle of it all, getting embraced by that very world. But not in some chill way. Nah, this looks like a trade-off. Something changed. Now circle back to Katt again. Here's a wild detail most people missed. During his Club Shay Shay interview, he rocked a ship's helm pendant around his neck. It wasn't just a flashy piece, it had meaning. The ship's wheel is ancient symbolism. Guidance, direction, the ability to steer through chaos on your own terms. In Buddhism, it represents the Dharma wheel, right action, right purpose, right speech. So when Katt pulled up rocking that ship's wheel pendant, it wasn't just for style, it was a message. That wasn't jewelry, that was spiritual warfare. While everybody else out here feels lost at sea, Katt was saying loud and clear, "I'm holding the wheel. I'm not letting them steer me. I'm in control of my own direction." And when you match that with everything he's been saying about industry control, it clicks. That pendant was coded, not random. Then there's what he said on Joe Rogan. Dude didn't hold back. He predicted that the trans agenda wasn't just gonna be some political stance. It was gonna be injected into every corner of the media. Not to lift people up, but to create confusion, a blurred line between identities, a way to twist reality, making it easier to break people down and control how they see themselves. And don't get it twisted, the Baphomet symbolism Katt keeps pointing to, that's not just about goat statues and shock value, it's deeper. It represents the merging of male and female, the erasure of natural order, and in Katt's eyes, that ties directly to the same powerful group controlling who rises and who gets shut down. Now spin that back to Fat Joe. He used to be loud, real loud, calling out the so-called gay mafia in hip-hop. But now, that man is quiet, real quiet, suddenly supporting agendas he never touched before. Now he's wrapped up in lawsuits that mirror every shady pattern we've seen before in this game. And you gotta wonder, is this just karma playing out? Or is it the industry sending a message? Katt didn't have to drop Fat Joe's name. His message was crystal clear. If you speak out on the rituals, if you call out the cabal, they're coming for you. And now, look, Joe's right in the fire. A multi-million-dollar federal RICO lawsuit just dropped, and everything about it screams exactly what Katt's been warning us about for years. The court docs lay it all bare. Allegations that Fat Joe used emotional manipulation to break people down, all while keeping a squeaky clean public image. But behind the curtain, wild behavior, alleged exploitation of underage girls, constant surveillance, everything under watch. This wasn't just reckless. It was about power, about control, straight up fear tactics. And the wildest part? Katt Loki predicted all of this. He laid the foundation years ago. And now, it's playing out like clockwork. But here's where things stop being just spooky and start feeling like a copy-paste script. Because when you really read through the lawsuit against Fat Joe, it doesn't just sound familiar. It reads like a straight-up remix of Diddy's RICO mess. Terrence Dixon, the man filing the suit, wasn't just some outsider, he was deep in the circle. Fat Joe's hype man, assistant, business partner, everything. Dude had access. And now he's not just suing for missing money. He's accusing Fat Joe of betrayal, blackmail, and sexual exploitation, allegedly done under Joe's watch, and sometimes, allegedly, with Joe involved. But yo, lock in right here, because this part is key. This ain't just some beef or legal drama. What Dixon laid out, it echoes the same twisted patterns Katt's been screaming about. And if that's true, then what we're seeing isn't just a downfall, it's a system being exposed. The real shocker here isn't just what's being alleged, it's how it's being laid out. Just like Diddy's case, Terrence Dixon's lawsuit is built under RICO. That's the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Let's be real, RICO ain't used for regular beef. That's the kind of charge they throw at crime families. So, why is the government letting folks build these lawsuits against celebs like they're mafia bosses? Because honestly, these setups are starting to look like organized crime rings. Dixon claims Fat Joe ran a slick network of shell companies, artists, and employees, allegedly using them to pull off theft, intimidation, emotional manipulation, and public deceit. Sound familiar? It should, because Cassie, Rodney, Lil Rod Jones, Don Montgomery, and others said the exact same playbook about Diddy. Let's run it down, line by line. Financial grooming? Lil Rod says Diddy would shower him with gifts, toss him cash, and even control where he stayed, all to keep him locked in. Dixon says Fat Joe played the same game, promising him co-ownership in businesses, then ghosting him on paperwork, lying about contracts, and even using fake signers to cut him out of deals. Coercion and surveillance. Diddy allegedly had Lil Rod followed by security, kept cameras everywhere, tracked his moves. Now Dixon says Fat Joe used bodyguards to scare him and even sent them to his house under the fake excuse of a friendly visit that felt more like a straight-up shakedown. Abuse of power? Cassie claimed Diddy used his status to pull in younger women and control them emotionally. Dixon's lawsuit suggests the same structure was at play around Fat Joe. Power used not to protect, but to manipulate and dominate. Dixon's claims go way past industry beef. He says Fat Joe kept underage girls around him, manipulated the artists he was supposed to be helping, and played the role of the savior while cutting everybody out of the money. And this ain't just about shady deals behind closed doors. This is about media-assisted gaslighting, because when the machine wants to cover up a mess, it doesn't need to silence everyone. It just needs to own the cameras. Now peep the company Joe's been keeping lately. You got Kamala Harris. Fat Joe backed her campaign, spoke heavy on social justice, and showed up at top-dollar political fundraisers. Then there's Rock Nation. He's been popping up at multiple Jay-Z-connected events. Don't forget those legendary Clive Davis parties. And of course, he's been seen all around the Revolt crowd too, aka Diddy's old playground. Joe's surrounded by the same stylists, same PR people, same handlers, all from the same industry circle, and now he's facing almost identical lawsuits to Diddy. But somehow, we're supposed to believe it's all just coincidence? Really? Here's the real kicker nobody's saying out loud. When Fat Joe's lawsuit dropped, there was zero mainstream chaos. No TMZ frenzy, no press junkets, no crisis PR team doing damage control. Why? Because this story wasn't supposed to go viral. Unlike Diddy, Joe still has protection. The cabal? They ain't done with him yet. Maybe he's more obedient. Maybe he knows when to fall back and stay quiet. Or maybe, just maybe, they're setting him up as a warning shot, a message to anyone else thinking of stepping out of line. But behind all the noise, we need to talk about Dixon. Terrence Dixon ain't just some bitter ex-employee trying to stir the pot. This man was deep inside for over 20 years. He knew everything. Joe's passwords, travel logs, bank moves, deals, artist drama, you name it. He helped run Terror Squad, locked down bookings, handled behind-the-scenes fires, but now, it's like he never existed. Socials, gone, videos, buried, media, they're not even saying his name. This feels like a straight-up vanishing act. And if it sounds familiar, that's because it's ripped from the Diddy playbook. When someone tries to break the silence, the structure doesn't need to win in court. It just needs to make that person disappear. Quiet, forgotten, swept under the rug. But here's where the plot flips. Dixon's case is finally starting to buzz. Why? Timing. The Diddy scandal cracked open the dam. And Katt Williams? He gave the world the vocabulary to describe what they've been seeing in the shadows for years. What used to sound like a wild conspiracy now reads like a straight-up blueprint. The dots are connecting. So here's the million-dollar question. If Fat Joe was once protected by the same elite circle he used to call out, is that protection running out? Because lately, he's been laying super low, skipping interviews, ducking every question about the lawsuit. Industry folks? They've stopped reposting him. His name, quietly removed from political campaigns and nonprofit boards. And don't forget what Katt said. When your ritual window closes, the machine either absorbs you or sacrifices you. So, what's really waiting for Fat Joe? If the cabal is done with you, do they let you fade into the background, or do they bury you completely, so nobody else dares to start asking questions? We're about to find out real soon. Let's be real. If these same allegations were aimed at anyone else, the media would be in a full-blown frenzy. It'd be front page, non-stop, wall-to-wall chaos. But somehow, this lawsuit against Fat Joe? Crickets. No BuzzFeed deep dive. No YouTube documentaries. No trending Twitter threads. Nothing. And that's not a coincidence. That's strategy. When the industry wants someone protected, they don't just send out lawyers. They send the full cleanup squad. PR firms, media silencers, influencer blockers, and digital sweeper crews ready to wipe every trace of scandal. Now look at how fast Diddy got dragged. Headlines dropped like bombs. Why? Because Diddy had already run out of value. He wasn't useful to the system anymore. And once you're not useful, you're disposable. Let's break down the strategy. First, with Diddy, they let him quietly pay settlements behind the scenes. Then he started stepping away from his label just before it collapsed. A few lawsuits went public, just enough to make it look like accountability was happening. The system made it seem like Diddy was the only villain, the lone bad apple, so the rest of the machine could stay clean. They replaced the face, but the structure, still untouched. Now zoom in on Fat Joe. His case is playing out the same way, just way more low-key. Allegations hit, but he kept showing up, smiling in public like nothing was wrong. No panic, no press meltdown. It's the same playbook, different speed. The question is, when will the system decide his time's up? Fat Joe's team didn't come out swinging or deny everything publicly, but behind the scenes, they started moving different. Suddenly, Joe was missing from political stages, disappearing from brand deals. No explanation, no statement, no noise, just a slow fade. And even though others were allegedly involved in the same mess, no new lawsuits, just Dixon's. And now they're painting him as bitter and desperate, like he's just chasing clout. Meanwhile, Joe's name is quietly vanishing from upcoming projects. Event flyers, nonprofit collabs, campaign rosters, he's being erased in real time. But peep the method. It's surgical, just like with Diddy's takedown, except this time the volume's on mute. No big headlines, no viral takedown. Why? Because Joe still hasn't said the wrong thing in public. See, the more you dig, the more it hits you. This story, it ain't just about Joe. It's about the people who made it visible, and that's where Katt Williams comes in. What makes Katt different from everybody else who tried to blow the whistle? He's got nothing left to lose. He's not tied to labels. He's independent. He's too viral to cancel and too sharp to discredit. That combo makes him dangerous to the whole machine. Now, here's where the paranoia creeps in. Is Fat Joe really being taken down? Or is he just getting cleaned up and repackaged for something else? 'Cause that's how the industry plays it now. They don't just toss people aside, they rebrand them when it suits the agenda. Remember what happened to Chrisette Michele? They erased her for performing at Trump's inauguration. One show, gone. But the same system kept protecting artists with abuse allegations for decades. So, what does that tell you? They turned Kanye into a public enemy. They let Travis Scott headline the Super Bowl like nothing ever happened. This industry doesn't cancel based on morals, it cancels based on usefulness. And that's what makes Fat Joe's lawsuit so damn unsettling. Because nobody knows what lane he's in right now. Is the cabal testing him to see if he'll stay obedient? Or have they already greenlit him for disposal? Either way, whatever happens next is gonna reveal everything. We'll finally start to understand just how deep this machine goes and how long it's been rotting from the inside out. Now let's bring it back full circle, but not to Joe, to Terrence Dixon, because right now, this man is invisible, and that's not normal. Someone with explosive accusations, 2 decades of inside knowledge and receipts, should be everywhere. Interviews, podcasts, viral clips, headlines, but he's nowhere. And there's a theory floating around that Dixon either struck a deal behind closed doors or, worse, got silenced, threatened. Because let's keep it real. The last person who sued one of these elite Hollywood puppeteers, their story disappeared, and so did they. So if Dixon's silence was forced, if Fat Joe's case magically vanishes, and if Katt's warnings get memory hold like they never happened, then the system wins again, and we'll never get the truth until the next rapper talks too loud and pays the price. But hold up, it's not over, because another name just got dragged into this twisted mess. And unlike Joe, they're not staying quiet. They're showing up on camera and fighting back, exposing everything. And what they just said? It might point to roots in this industry web even darker than anything we've seen so far. So hit that like if you're still locked in. Comment below. Do you think Fat Joe's getting canceled or recycled? Share this with someone who needs to wake up. And don't forget to subscribe for the next bombshell. See you in the next one. You're not ready for what's coming.